The Challenge of Silence. The Ardonian space station, Keltrax, hung like a crystalline fortress against the backdrop of nebular gases. Its massive structure, built from transparent alloys that caught and refracted starlight, served as the diplomatic hub for 7 different species across this arm of the galaxy. Humans were the newest arrivals, having been granted provisional membership to the Galactic Concord less than a decade ago. Lieutenant Commander Kira Hayes stood at the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the approaching delegation. She'd been stationed here for 3 years as part of Earth's diplomatic security force, a role that made her both soldier and diplomat. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation knot, and she wore the naval blue uniform of Earth's Stellar Command with quiet pride. "They're early," muttered Captain Reeves beside her. "The Ardonians are never early." Kara nodded, her expression carefully neutral. "They want to make an impression." The Ardonian delegation glided through the docking bay with practiced grace. Their exosuits gleamed with iridescent metals and embedded tech that pulsed with each movement. Unlike humans who wore their military hardware as external gear, Ardonians fused their bodies with their armor, creating hybrid warriors of unmatched physical power. At their head walked Commander Victrix, 7 feet of hostile alien beauty. Her crystalline exarmor caught the light from overhead, casting prismatic patterns across the floor. The ridge of her skull extended back in a natural crest that gave her the appearance of wearing a crown. Her skin, visible only at the joints of her suit, was a pale blue that shimmered like opal. "The humans send a female to greet us." Vatrix's voice carried through the translator with a sharp edge. "And a small one at that." Kara stepped forward, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Commander Vitrix, welcome to Diplomatic Station Keltrax. I'm Lieutenant Commander Kira Hayes, head of Earth's security detail." Vitrix looked at Kira's outstretched hand with open disdain. "You're their security. You barely reach my shoulder." A ripple of amusement passed through the Ardonian delegation. Captain Reeves tensed beside Kira, but she maintained her diplomatic posture. "Size isn't everything, Commander. I'm sure your people have learned it through your many conflicts." The barb was subtle but effective. The Ardonians had recently suffered a humiliating defeat against the much smaller Xendari, a fact that wasn't discussed in polite company. Vitrix's eyes narrowed to slits of amber fire. "Watch your tone, human. You may have been granted a seat at the table, but you haven't earned your voice." "I wasn't aware voices needed to be earned," Kira replied, dropping her hand. "On Earth, they're considered a birthright." The tension in the room thickened. The other members of the delegation, representatives from the Cygni Alliance and the Taurian Collective, shifted uncomfortably. Vitrix stepped closer, her armor whirring softly with the movement. "There is a difference between speaking and being heard, Lieutenant Commander. One you humans have yet to grasp. Perhaps we could continue this discussion at the diplomatic reception," suggested the Cygni representative, their translucent appendages fluttering anxiously. "Of course," Kira said, turning away from Vitrix's glare. "If you'll follow me." The reception hall blazed with artificial light, designed to accommodate the vision ranges of all 7 species. Food synthesizers had been programmed with the biochemical requirements of each delegation. Kara stood with her back to the wall, watching the interactions with practiced vigilance. "She's coming this way," warned Reeves through their comlink. Vitrix approached with 2 junior officers flanking her. Her armor seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat, the embedded tech responding to her emotions. "I've been reviewing the schedule," Vitrix announced without preamble. "I see humans are slated to present their case for expanded trade routes tomorrow." Kara nodded. "That's correct." "A waste of the Concord's time," Vitrix said dismissively. "Your ships are slow, your technology primitive. What can Earth possibly offer that we don't already have?" The question was clearly meant as an insult, but Kira answered professionally. "Diversity of approach, human ingenuity, and resources you haven't yet encountered." Vitrix laughed, the sound like crystal shattering. "Resources. Your planet was half depleted before you even achieved basic space travel. We've learned from our mistakes, Kira replied. Something all evolving species must do. Vitrix's eyes flashed. Some mistakes cannot be undone, human. Some weaknesses are inherent. The gathering had grown quiet, attention shifting to the confrontation. This was no longer simple diplomatic friction. It was becoming a scene. I'm not sure what you're implying, Commander, Kira said evenly. I'm not implying. I'm stating. Vitrix's voice rose, designed to carry. Humans are physically inferior, technologically behind, and diplomatically naive. Your presence in the Concord is a charity case, nothing more. Captain Reeves stepped forward. Commander Vitrix, this is hardly the venue. I challenge you. Vitrix interrupted, her eyes locked on Kira. A formal demonstration of capability. Your human skills against my Ardonian training. The room fell silent. A challenge was a rare but recognized diplomatic tool in the Concord, a way to settle disputes without full-scale conflicts. It hadn't been invoked in decades. That's unnecessary, Kira replied. We're here to talk, not fight. Are all humans cowards or just you? Vitrix's voice dripped with contempt. No wonder your species hides behind words. The insult hung in the air like poison. Kira felt the eyes of every alien representative on her, not just watching her, but watching humanity through her. Challenge accepted, she said quietly. Standard Concord rules. A murmur ran through the crowd. Vitrix's mouth curved into what passed for an Ardonian smile, predatory and cold. Tomorrow at mid-cycle, she declared. The demonstration arena. With that, she turned and walked away, her armor catching the light like the scales of a dangerous serpent. Are you insane? Reeves hissed when they were alone. Ardonian exosuits are integrated with their nervous systems. She'll tear you apart. Kira watched Vitrix's retreating form. Maybe. But she's already torn apart our credibility. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win a war. This isn't a battle, it's suicide, Reeves insisted. I'm coming, Earth Command. No, Kira's voice was firm. By the time they respond, it'll be over. Besides, Command would order me to back down, and that's exactly what she wants. Then what's your plan? Kira's eyes hardened. To study her, every species has weaknesses, even ones in fancy armor. The preparations took all night. Kira secluded herself in the human quarters with the station's data feeds, studying every scrap of information on Ardonian physiology, combat techniques, and most importantly, their exormer systems. Lieutenant Rivera, their tech specialist, sat across from her surrounded by holographic displays. Their systems are impressive, but there's always a vulnerability, he said, manipulating the three-dimensional model of an Ardonian warrior. The integration points between organic tissue and tech components are sensitive. Hit them right, and the system goes haywire. And those points are? Kira asked, watching the rotating model. Neck base, lower spine, and behind the knees, Rivera pointed. But they know that. Those areas are the most heavily armored. What about their tech itself? Any weaknesses there? Rivera frowned. Their systems use crystalline processors, incredibly efficient, but susceptible to certain sonic frequencies. The problem is generating those frequencies in combat. Kira leaned forward. What if we already had the frequencies? What do you mean? She smiled grimly. Every tech has a signature. Their armor's been humming since they arrived. I want you to analyze it. Find the resonant frequency. That's actually brilliant, Rivera said, already typing commands. But even if we find it, how will you use it? Kira stood up, stretching muscles tense from hours of sitting. Leave that to me. The demonstration arena was a circular platform at the center of the station's neutral zone. Designed for gravity adjustments to accommodate different physiologies, it now hummed at Earth standard, a small concession to the human participant. The observation decks were packed. This wasn't just entertainment, it was political theater. The outcome would shape perceptions of humanity for years to come. Kira entered wearing standard Earth military combat gear, reinforced synth leather with basic impact plating. Next to Vitrix's gleaming exosuit, she looked practically naked. "I expected your surrender," Vitrix called across the arena. "Not your martyrdom." Kara performed her warm-up stretches with deliberate slowness. "Funny. I was thinking the same about you." Vitrix's laugh echoed through her suit's amplifiers. "Your species' humor will be missed when you're gone." The Cygni mediator floated to the center. "This is a demonstration of capability, not a deathmatch," they reminded both participants. "Victory is achieved through incapacitation or surrender." "Understood," Kara said. Vitrix merely nodded, her eyes never leaving Kara. "Begin," the mediator announced, quickly retreating from the arena. Vitrix didn't waste time. She launched forward with frightening speed, her armor's servos whining as she closed the distance. Kara dove and rolled, barely avoiding the crushing blow that left a dent in the arena floor. "First lesson," Vitrix taunted. "Ardonian armor enhances our already superior strength." Kara kept moving, maintaining distance. Noted, "Though I've always found those who talk about their strength usually compensate for something else." Vitrix's eyes flashed with anger. She charged again, faster this time. Kara sidestepped, but not quite fast enough. A glancing blow caught her shoulder, sending her spinning across the platform. Pain bloomed in her arm, but nothing was broken. Kara regained her footing as Vitrix stalked toward her. Second lesson. We're faster too. The audience watched in tense silence. In the first 2 minutes, the outcome seemed inevitable. The human was outmatched in every physical way. Rivera's voice came through Kara's earpiece, barely audible. "Got it. Frequency uploaded to your sonic emitter." Kara touched her wrist device in acknowledgement. Now she just needed to get close enough without getting crushed. Vitrix lunged again, but this time Kara didn't retreat. She moved toward the attack, ducking under Vitrix's arm and sliding past her. "What are you?" Vitrix began, then staggered as Kara activated her wrist device. The sonic pulse was inaudible to most species, but to Vitrix's crystalline processors, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard. Her armor stuttered, the smooth movements becoming briefly jerky. Kara pressed the advantage, landing a solid kick to one of the integration points behind Vitrix's knee. The Ardonian stumbled but quickly recovered. "A trick," she snarled. Nothing more. But now Kara had shown something crucial. The human wasn't helpless. The dynamics of the fight shifted subtly as Vitrix became more cautious, more calculating. Kara kept moving, forcing Vitrix to turn and adjust. Each time, she emitted the disruptive frequency, gradually increasing its effect on the Ardonian systems. "Is running all you can do?" Vitrix demanded, her frustration evident. "I'm not running," Kara replied calmly. "I'm thinking. Something your armor doesn't do for you." The insult hit its mark. Vitrix charged with full power, her armor's energy conduits glowing with the surge. It was what Kara had been waiting for. Peak energy consumption meant peak vulnerability to frequency disruption. As Vitrix closed in, Kara activated her device at maximum output. The effect was immediate. Vitrix's armor locked mid-stride, the crystalline processors momentarily overwhelmed by conflicting signals. Kara didn't hesitate. She launched herself at her opponent, targeting the now vulnerable integration points with precision strikes. 1, 2, 3 blows, each one sending cascading failures through Vitrix's systems. With a strangled cry, Vitrix collapsed to one knee, her armor sputtering and parts of it shutting down entirely. The audience gasped as plates of the once magnificent exosuit went dark and limp. "Impossible," Vitrix whispered, her amplifiers failing. Kara stood over her, breathing hard but steady. "Not impossible, just human." The voice of humanity. "Yield," Kara demanded, standing over the partially immobilized Ardonian commander. Vitrix's eyes burned with humiliation and rage. "Never," she spat, forcing her failing armor to respond through sheer will. With a grinding sound, she rose to her feet. Systems rebooting. Kara stepped back, reassessing. The sonic disruption had worked, but not as completely as she'd hoped. Vitrix was damaged, but far from defeated. Impressive recovery, Kara acknowledged. But your systems are compromised. This doesn't need to continue. It continues until one of us falls. Vitrix snarled. Her voice was raw now, stripped of the mechanical enhancement as portions of her suit remained offline. Around them, the audience watched in stunned silence. What had begun as an expected slaughter had become something entirely different, a genuine contest. Vitrix lunged again, but her movements lacked their earlier fluidity. The damaged integration points forced her to compensate, making her attacks powerful but predictable. Kara used this to her advantage, staying just beyond reach, forcing Vitrix to expend more energy with each missed strike. Stand and fight properly, Vitrix demanded after another failed attack. Why? Kara circled cautiously. So you can crush me with your superior strength. I prefer to use what I have. And what is that? Tricks and technology. Vitrix's voice dripped with contempt. Adaptation, Kara replied. The one advantage humans have always possessed. This time when Vitrix attacked, Kara didn't retreat. She slipped inside the Ardonian's guard, too close for the powerful but less agile warrior to effectively counter. Using techniques developed for asymmetric combat, Kara struck at the vulnerable points of the armor with precision. Each blow was calculated, targeting not just the armor, but the confidence of the warrior within it. Vitrix wasn't used to opponents who could touch her, let alone hurt her. Third lesson, Kara said as she landed another precision strike. Humans learn quickly. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Vitrix's amber eyes. Her next attack was hesitant, lacking the absolute conviction that had marked her earlier movements. Kara exploited this new weakness ruthlessly. You mock our primitive technology, she continued, ducking under a wide swing. But we've had to rely on our minds while your people coasted on inherited advantages. Another strike, this one disabling the servos in Vitrix's left arm. The limb hung heavy at her side, the armor now a burden rather than an asset. Stop talking, Vitrix growled, swinging wildly with her functioning arm. Kara caught the blow on her reinforced forearm, absorbing the impact with a grunt. Why? Does the truth bother you, or is it just the sound of a human voice being heard? With a roar of frustration, Vitrix charged, abandoning technique for raw power. It was exactly what Kara had been waiting for. She sidestepped at the last moment and used Vitrix's momentum against her, guiding the Ardonian's rush toward the edge of the platform. Vitrix realized the trap too late. Her damaged armor couldn't adjust quickly enough, and her momentum carried her forward. She teetered at the edge, arms windmilling. Kara could have pushed her, ended the match with a single gesture. Instead, she caught Vitrix's functioning arm, stopping her fall. What are you doing? Vitrix demanded, confusion replacing anger. Showing mercy, Kara replied. Another human trait you might want to study. With a sharp twist, she pulled Vitrix away from the edge, then swept the Ardonian's legs from under her. Vitrix crashed to the platform with a resounding thud, her armor cracking further with the impact. Before she could rise, Kara was on her, a small device pressed against the base of Vitrix's skull, directly over the primary neural integration point. This is a localized EMP generator, Kara explained calmly. One pulse will sever the connection between your nervous system and your armor. It won't harm you physically, but you'll be trapped in dead weight until your technicians extract you. Vitrix went very still. You would paralyze me. I would end this fight without further damage to either of us, Kara corrected. Your choice, Commander. For long seconds, only the sound of Vitrix's labored breathing filled the arena. Then, finally, I yield. The words echoed through the shocked silence of the observation decks. An Ardonian commander had surrendered to a human, an outcome that would have been laughable just hours before. Kara stood and extended her hand. After a moment's hesitation, Vitrix took it, allowing herself to be helped to her feet. Her armor hung in pieces, power cells dimmed and servos silent. "How?" she asked, voice barely audible. "We are superior in every physical way." "Physical superiority isn't everything," Kira replied. "Humans have spent our entire evolutionary history as the underdog. We've survived by outthinking stronger predators, by forming communities, by using our limitations as catalysts for innovation." The mediator floated forward, officially declaring Kira the victor. As tradition dictated, both participants would now address the gathering. Vitrix spoke first, her voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. "The human has demonstrated unexpected capability. I acknowledge her victory in my misconception." When it was Kira's turn, she faced not just Vitrix but the entire assembly. Today wasn't about proving human superiority. It was about proving that superiority itself is an illusion. Each species in the Concord brings unique strengths. Humans may be physically weaker than Ardonians, but we compensate in other ways. That diversity of approach is what makes the Concord stronger than any single species could be alone. She turned to Vitrix. "Commander, your armor is magnificent, and your strength impressive. But they became limitations when you relied on them exclusively. Sometimes the greatest strength is recognizing one's vulnerabilities." As they exited the arena, medical teams waited for both of them. Kira had sustained bruises and a mild concussion, while Vitrix required technical assistance with her damaged armor. "Your victory will change things," Captain Reeves said as medics treated Kira's injuries. "The Ardonians won't take this lightly." "They might surprise you," Kira replied, watching as Vitrix was helped away by her team. "Pride comes before a fall, but wisdom can come after one." 2 days later, as the human delegation prepared their trade route presentation, the doors to the chamber slid open to reveal Commander Vitrix. She walked in without her full exosuit, wearing only the base layer that all Ardonians used for environmental support. It was a shocking display of vulnerability for her species. The room fell silent as she approached Kira. "Lieutenant Commander Hayes," she said formally, "I wish to observe your presentation personally." Kira nodded, keeping her surprise hidden. "You're welcome to join us, Commander." "I have also." Vitrix seemed to struggle with the words, "reconsidered my position on human expansion into the Debrian sector. My formal recommendation to the Concord will reflect this reconsideration." The implications were enormous. Ardonian support would virtually guarantee approval of the trade routes. "What changed your mind?" Kira asked. Vitrix's expression was unreadable, but her voice carried a new note of respect. "You showed me that there are different kinds of strength. Perhaps there are also different kinds of advancement." She hesitated, then added more quietly, "My people have relied on our technological integration for generations. It has made us powerful, but also inflexible. Your victory has caused much discussion among our delegation." "Discussion is a start," Kira said with a small smile. "Indeed." Vitrix straightened. "Now show me these trade routes that are so important to your species." As the presentation began, representatives from other worlds noted the unprecedented sight. An Ardonian commander listening, truly listening, to a human voice. The symbolic weight was not lost on anyone present. Later, when Earth received news of the Concord's unanimous approval of the trade routes, the attached note from Lieutenant Commander Hayes said simply, "Sometimes to be heard, you must first teach others how to listen." In the years that followed, the diplomatic incident became legend, how a human soldier stood against an alien warrior and turned mockery into respect. But the greater truth was simpler. On that day, humanity didn't just win a contest or secure trade routes. They won their voice. And in the vast chorus of the galaxy, one more species learned that true strength comes not from armor, but from what lies beneath it.